Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 3 of Brilliant Women Dating Up Masterclass. I am so excited that all of you are here to get more great information. So much great stuff is going on here at Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt. So I'm really happy to be able to share all of this great information and do a full 6 weeks. So here we are, week 3. We've got 4, 5, and 6 still coming up. So if you have not done so already, I definitely recommend going to our business page that this video is playing on right now, and make sure you like the events for next week, the week after, and the week after that, to make sure you don't miss out on any of the upcoming information. Hi, Sharon. Yay! Sharon's excited too. Sharon's one of my star pupils. She's always the first one in her seat, ready to learn, which I love. I love. We are here to be of service. So I actually have my assistant is going to be on with me, and if you have any questions, Amani, I'm sure she's going to say hi at some point, so feel free to ask her questions if you have any for her, or, if I don't get to respond right away, she'll be letting me know what's going on if I miss anything. So feel free to ask questions during this live event. We're going to go through some details to help you on your healing journey. And, I'm going to share some stuff. If there's at some point you say, hey, wait, I've got a question, then please feel free to ask that question. If I don't get to it right away, I will definitely get back to it. And if there's anything that resonates for you, hearts, likes, angry face, smiley face, like whatever it is that you need to do, I'd love to hear, some feedback, and I'd love to have some interaction as we're going through this. So thank you again so much for coming on to tonight's live webinar for Brilliant Women Dating Up. And so let's get started, because I want to try to keep this about 30 minutes so that you can get on to doing other things and get that quick, influx of learning, and then you can kind of go on and journal and think about the stuff that we talked about tonight. So here we go. The thing that is, and these kind of all are going to go together, I feel like. But the first question that we're going to talk about is, why do so many brilliant women make excuses for unhealthy behavior in relationships? So I would love to hear what you think. What are some reasons that you think that women make all the excuses in the world for why they're in this unhealthy, toxic relationship? So feel free, write those right in the comments, what you've seen, maybe what you've experienced yourself, maybe what you've seen other people experience. What is the reason why so many beautiful women stay in these toxic relationships? So what have you heard? And this is not, we're not giving anybody a hard time. This is not victim blaming or other. We're just looking for the reasons why people will say that they stay in these toxic relationships. So I'll give you a few seconds to write down what you think. And I would love to hear it. I would love to hear all of your knowledge about it. All right. So now that you had a little bit of time to think about it, and of course I should say this ahead of time, for those of you who are not getting to watch this live and you're watching this on the replay, anytime I ask a question, just ask it anyway, or answer it anyway, because I'm going to go back and answer any questions anybody has that they were not there for the live. So please don't feel like, oh my gosh, I missed out, I wasn't there for the actual live. Not a big deal. You won't get to hear me answer it, but at least I'll be able to go back and answer any questions or be able to interact with you after the live is over. So definitely feel free at any point to write down your questions. I will come back, I promise. So some of the things that I have found as to why brilliant women stay in these toxic relationships. And, I started to write down some notes of things because, again, I don't even realize how much I know until I start pinpointing things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much information that I want to share with everyone. But there's just such a short period of time. So, I wrote some notes down and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of reasons why people stay. Sharon says they hold threats over your head. Oh, yeah, for sure. That is a big one. They love to manipulate, and they love to try to make you feel like you're not going to get any better. So that's definitely a big thing. So it starts out, we talked a little bit in the past 2 weeks about why these brilliant women even get into these unhealthy relationships. So, just a little recap. We are already people that we might have been successful in a lot of other places, but we haven't been successful in relationships. And, I remember when my mom told me when I was younger, Stephanie, you're dating below you. And I remember getting so offended by her saying that. And I was thinking today that when I started dating people, I would hear a lot of the times guys say to me, you're out of my league. And I would say, what are you talking about? So, that should have been like a good, hey, red flag to remind me that they were telling me the truth. Like when someone says something, listen to what they're saying and also look at their actions. So pay attention to both of those things. But I remember a guy saying that I was out of their league. And I remember my mom saying, you're dating people that are kind of below you. And I didn't really want to believe that because there were certain things that I was looking for in my mind. I wanted kind of this rugged man. I wanted this independent guy. I wanted, all of these things. And I didn't want to make anyone feel intimidated. So, I remember more than a few times where I would go in to ask someone out and they would say, oh, I never would have thought you wanted to date me or that you'd be interested in me. And I'd be like, why would I want to date you? I would think that they were out of my league and they were like, oh, no, you're out of my league. Well, the reality is that I probably was out of their league. Or we just weren't the right fit for each other is really what a lot of this comes down to, is really just not the right fit. So these people that are saying like, hey, you're out of my league where we're not the right fit. So we're not the right fit for this person. And then we try to make it work. So we don't really know who we are. We have low self-esteem. And again, a lot of us do not think that low self-esteem is an issue because we've been so successful in other places in our lives. A lot of people have had maybe some things in their childhood or as they were growing up, some experiences that made them start to feel like relationships were hard. They were not going to be fun, relaxing, and there was really just no such thing as a happy couple. So those things are kind of like you've got that basis for relationships, and then you kind of see movies and things like that where men are these rugged go-getters where they get angry and they lose their temper, and the damsel in distress. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm really nervous to show Disney movies to my daughter because I don't want her to learn in any way, shape, or form that some guy's going to come and save her. She does not need to be Sleeping Beauty and wait for her prince to come and save the day. I want her to know very well that she can come and save herself. So we have all these movies, we have songs, we have this upbringing, we have all of these things that make us think like we're going to have this guy that's going to come and save the day. And then on top of it, it's going to be the chase. So, this person, they don't really seem like they belong, and then they end up being together, and we're going to show them how wonderful relationships can be. And then, they change their ways and we live happily ever after. Well, what the hell does that mean? Because what do you have in common after you've had the chase? Okay, so the sex was great, and we're going to be talking about sex next week. If not next week, the week after. So just go to the event page and make sure you look, because we're going to be talking about sex, I promise. But right now, let's just look at, okay, you had the chase, you had the excitement of, are they interested in me? Are we going to get together? Ooh, the sex is really great. Oh, they're really attractive. Okay, now what? What do we do? And then so when you don't have that basis of the things in common, and you need that basic things in common. So, what do you talk about when you're just sitting around? When life starts getting a little crazy? When you're not in the party mode? When you're not in the just like, you're so excited honeymoon stage and you're just kind of figuring out, who's getting off the couch or, who's got the toilet first? Those are the things that are the real parts of the relationships. There's the fun and the exciting part, but then when it comes down to the nit and gritty, if you're going to have children together, what are the values that you're going to share with those children? What are the values that you share with each other? What things that you have in common? What ways do you express love to each other? So you have all of those things that are going on, and, we do not feel that maybe we deserve to be in a healthy relationship. I mean, that's what a lot of people do. I know for me, I did not think that healthy relationships were for someone like me. And it was because I had had all these unhealthy relationships. I was thinking the other day, I remember when I was in high school, I had the biggest crush on this guy named Chris Perks. He was a huge druggie. He was. He was a druggie. He was a skater guy. He had like the cute little floppy hair. This was the 90s, so let me just give you that heads up. I was kind of straight-laced, in that sense. But, he had this like skater hair, and he was cute, and he was kind of like a little bit reclusive, and no one could really talk to him. And for me, that made it like more exciting, more different. And, I was like, oh, and he even said like, oh, my parents are both alcoholics, so I would never drink. Well, yeah, but he was a druggy. Who knows what other drugs he was doing. But that was the type of guy I was interested in. Was anybody else interested in those types of guys, like the bad boys that your parents would have been like, I don't want you to ever date those? I remember my dad being like, well, I don't want you to date this type of person. I'd be like, well, excuse you can't tell me who I'm going to date. So there was definitely a little bit of that, like going against the parents' wants. But I also might not have been there had I not already had that basis of not feeling good enough to be in a healthy relationship. So looking for the bad boys and then being in those relationships where they were not treating me right and feeling like that was just going to be the way it was. Because my first major relationship, at the very beginning, things were really great. They were good for a while. And then things started to turn. And I remember saying to him, I'm as loyal as a dog. I will stick around. And that's what a lot of us are. We stick around and we hold on. And the problem with that is that I should have let go, but I felt so dedicated to him. And he was, it was just my boyfriend, but I felt so dedicated to him. And I remember more than a few times, like we would go to a party and I was getting, a double master's degree, and he would sit there and be like, I don't really have anything to talk about with these people. And so if we weren't partying and out having a good time, and it was just talking about politics or something big and like somebody was studying, that wasn't what he did. That wasn't what was interesting to him. And I remember looking and being like, that's interesting, and not really thinking that much about it. But that fear of not wanting to let someone down and feeling like you're not good enough to be with someone who's at a better place financially, emotionally, socially, all of the different levels of where we're supposed to be looking in a relationship. So what is the biggest thing? Fear. We're afraid. We are afraid of attracting the person who we really want to attract. We're afraid that there's something inherently wrong with us specifically. There's something wrong with me. This broken piece of me, whatever that is not going to attract the right person. So I might as well just deal with whoever likes me, whoever shows me a good time, whoever shows me that I matter, whoever, gives me the time of day, whoever's nice to me and we have good sex with. Okay, well, that's going to be the person that I'm with. And that fear holds us back. And Tammy called it. It's the fear. And the fear gets us in a whole bunch of different issues. The fear of failure. So, a failure for a female is, are you single? And I get kind of frustrated with people where they're always asking, well, why is someone as beautiful as you? Why are you single? And they ask women that, especially when they're over 20, well, a beautiful woman like you, why would you be single? Well, why does a woman have to be in a relationship to have any kind of identity? That's what society has told us. So a lot of women are kind of pushing and fighting and in competition with each other to get the right guy for them. The guy maybe of status, or the guy that looks like someone that they would want to have, even though they might not have the same values or the same interest or any of those things, but they're fighting for that person. And it's the fear of not fitting in, the fear of standing out, of being different, and failing at this whole competition of life. When I'll tell you right now, life is definitely not a competition. If you succeed, I succeed. I actually love when I see other people succeeding. It's one of my favorite things to see. That's why I'm so lucky to be a coach, is because one of the best, last night I'm on a call with some of my clients, and they're telling me these wins of these amazing things that they've done, and I just got tears like coming down my face because I'm so excited. I'm so happy. I love hearing about wins. Tammy said they have everything but not emotionally available because they're in fear. Yeah, exactly. So the person that this beautiful woman is trying to attract isn't even available because they themselves have their own issues to take care of. So there's all of that going on. There's the question of maybe it's me. I was saying before, maybe I'm broken. Maybe I'm the one who's attracting these bad people, these unhealthy people for me. I remember after the third or fourth breakup with a really unhealthy relationship, I really, before I married my now ex, I remember saying to myself, and really, I said it in my own head, I am just not capable of having a healthy relationship, and I just make good guys go bad. And someone that I was friends with kind of made a joke about that. And because I was already thinking it, it kind of just like added another layer to kind of make me think about it more. What am I doing to make these guys turn this way? Now, it was never me turning them that way. They were there like that already. What was up with me was that I was allowing these unhealthy people into my life, but I wasn't the one making them unhealthy. They were already unhealthy. I was attracted to them needing to be fixed. I was attracted to them needing me to be in their life. I was attracted to them and what they wanted from me and what they needed from me, not necessarily of what I could, we could exchange in a healthy, equal energy type of relationship. So that's another big reason why people stay. They don't know any better. And sorry, I'm like, some of the things I jotted down so quickly, they don't know any better. If the people around you are all in unhealthy relationships, the family of upbringing was an unhealthy relationship, then in your mind, relationships are unhealthy. Relationships are toxic. They're difficult. They're hard to navigate. People always fight. They always scream and yell at each other. You have all of those things that are pre-programmed into your head. So you start to just think like, well, that's just how everybody is. And when I did the Facebook Live with David on Monday, we actually talked about how surrounding yourself with healthy people is so important. When I was going through my healing journey, I made sure that I only hung around people that when I left hanging out with them, I felt more energized. I felt like I actually had more energy. Because there were people, and think about this for yourself, one of your homework assignments will be, hang around the people that you normally hang around with, and then when you leave, check in with yourself and see how you feel. Do you feel motivated, inspired, excited, energized? Do you feel those things? Do you feel a calmness, a peacefulness? Those are good feelings to have as well. Or do you feel drained? Do you feel like, oh my gosh, I need to go take a nap? Oh my gosh, that was so rough. What are you thinking? What are you feeling when you are leaving the relationships with people that you're spending the most time with? So think about that. And if you realize that there are people that are draining, you need to start changing your tribe. Change the people that you're hanging around with, which is just, a perfect chance for me to say, hey, you should come with us to Costa Rica in February the 15th to the 22nd, because we're going to be a tribe of people elevating our energy. But I'll talk about that later. That's because that's an exciting one. What else? People are afraid to be alone. They say, okay, well, you know what? I'm in this relationship. I feel really terrible. We're not really the right fit. And this might all be subconscious. We might not even realize we're saying or thinking it. But what if I'm alone? And I can tell you that the most alone I have ever felt was sitting on the couch next to any of my exes while they watched television. And I sat there thinking to myself, is this going to be my life? Is this going to be the way that I end my days? And I felt so alone. So much so, I felt like I couldn't talk. I couldn't share what was on my mind. I was afraid that if I didn't behave a certain way, that there would be an issue, and I wanted to try to avoid issues, so I would walk on eggshells. So I wasn't able to share what was on my mind. I wasn't able to share. And then when I would say to him, when he would ask, like, well, why aren't you talking to me? Why aren't you sharing things? And I said, because I'm uncomfortable, because you throw it back in my face. And he said, well, you need to get over that. You just need to share with me stuff. And as soon as I would try again, throw it right back in my face. It would be nice maybe at that moment, and then the next fight or the next day when he was in a bad mood or whatever, it would be thrown right back in my face and manipulated so that I would be made to feel badly about a feeling that I had. So that is something that is really huge to look at, is your feelings about being alone. Because I'll tell you right now, and I can say it again, being in a relationship where you feel alone is one of the worst relationships you can possibly have. Tammy said, yep, and empty is what the next 20 years will be like. Yep. And that was one of my motivating things to get out, is I said, could I do this for the next 50 years? I'm not getting any younger. I am not going to go onto my deathbed and look back and be like, oh, this was my life. sitting on the couch while my husband watched television, feeling so utterly, totally, completely alone, and knowing that I had not lived my best life. And that was a reason to kind of push myself and get me in the healthier place. Here's another one. I can't find anyone better. Well, if you stay in that relationship, you're not going to find anyone better. If you end that relationship and then get right into another relationship, you're not going to find anyone better. It's really important to work on you and get all of those underlying issues that you have, those negative thoughts that you have, those limiting beliefs, those sabotaging things that you do. It's important to peel back the layers, heal the little girl or little boy that's inside of you, heal that person. And then once you feel healed, and now I'm not saying it's like healed is like, oh, that's it, and then there's no more healing. Healing is like this back and forth weird kind of thing. There are times where we're like, oh, I'm it. I am healed. I am good. And then we kind of like, oh, that was a little step back. Okay. But when I say healed, I meant no longer looking to constantly in all of your relationships try to people please everyone. Not trying to force something that's not healthy for you. So when you are healed, you do know yourself. You do know what your wants and needs are. You know what you're really looking for. Then you'd be able to start dating. But you can't do that when you're still in that relationship. And you can't do it from the same place that you started from. And that's why having a coach and having your tribe and all the people on your team is so important. And that's what we do in our coaching groups. Another one, I won't be able to pay my bills. I have always been the breadwinner. I've always been the go-getter. And even when I was with my ex, I was the one who owned a house before he was ever in the picture. And I remember being afraid of being able to pay my bills. That can be a real issue. For those of you who are in a relationship where your significant other is the one who's in charge of all the bills and you have not been paying into the bills, maybe you quit your job to stay home with the kids, that could be one of the reasons why you don't leave. And we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. Another reason why people stay is because of the children. And this one is one of the things that, especially now that I have children, scares me more than anything. Because when I was with my ex, one of the reasons why I didn't have children with him was because I was so afraid of him being a father to my children. So I can understand, I can empathize for those of you who've had children with the person that is treating you badly. And now you have children with them and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I want my children to have their father. I don't want to have a divorced family. I had a divorced family and this is how I feel. I don't want to do that to my children. Well, as someone who's got 2 children and who's actually married to their best friend, even there it's hard. I can't imagine trying to deal with your children and the person that you are in an unhealthy relationship with. That has got to be so draining. And you are such a warrior to even think about trying to stay because you think that that's right for the children. But let me tell you right now, staying for the children is the absolute wrong thing to do. I can even tell if my husband and I got like a little, we don't yell and scream, but if we get even just a little like, at each other, and Zachary is in the room, our 3-year-old, Zachary will have a reaction to it. And that's with people that he sees loving all the time. He sees happy, there's not yelling and screaming and stuff like that. He sees a little bit of something weird in our relationship and he has a reaction. Your children who are watching this toxic relationship are starting to imprint in their brain that this is okay. This is how a man speaks to a woman, or this is how a couple speaks to each other, depending on what type of relationship you're in. But this is how people speak to each other. This is how family members speak to each other. This is how people that love each other speak to each other. And the more the children are in that type of surroundings, the more they start to just live at this place where they think that that is how life is. And now what you're doing is you are not saving them from a divorce. You're not saving them from not having their other parent in their lives. What you are doing is you are giving them an unhealthy relationship in their future. Because the chances are pretty good that until someone in the family stops the family cycle of unhealthy relationships, you're going to keep just passing it on. So if it's not you, then it's going to be given to your children. And then it's going to be up to your children to decide if they're going to follow the same path or if they're going to choose something different. So why not choose something different for yourself to make it that much easier for your kids to set them up for healthier relationships? All right. So those are some of the reasons why women stay in these unhealthy relationships, or why people in general stay in these unhealthy relationships. Here is the next thing that I want to talk about. What's the difference between excuse and reason, and what do we do about it? So the difference between excuse and reason, I hate to say, is pretty much the same thing. We can give all the reasons in the world as to why we stay. We can say it's because of the children. We can say it's because of money. We can say it's because we're too old. It's because we're not going to attract anybody else, because we like the financial stature we have, because we don't have anywhere else to go. We don't have anybody else, whatever it is. Bye, Cheryl. Whatever it is that we're giving as these excuses or reasons, the thing to do about it is to start writing them down. Take all of the reasons, or I'll use them interchangeably, the reasons or excuses. Take all of the reasons why you are staying and write them down. And look at the list. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm too old. I'm too young. I want the family. I'm not going to get it if I start all over again. Again, so you write down all the different things. I'm already broken. I've got a health issue. Whatever it is. The list is really long because I've been working with people for a while, so I've heard all of the reasons why people give. So write all of those reasons down. And now, how do you overcome them? Start thinking of ways to overcome them. So if you're serious about actually making a change, then you're going to want to make write out plans of what you are going to do to figure out how to overcome that. So let's say you don't have enough money and you want to leave this relationship. So that's one of the excuses. So you write down, I don't have enough money. So you write that down and you think about it. You kind of meditate on it. You think about it and you say, all right, so what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What did I do for money before I was married? What do I do for money now? What can I do to bring more money into my life? What can I do to make myself more financially stable without having to worry about somebody else? Can I put money to the side? Can I give money to a friend to start saving up money? Start thinking about how you can overcome that obstacle. And then go to the next one. I don't have the right support system. Okay, because that's another big one. Okay, well, if it's support system, there's domestic violence, places. There's a support system right here at Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt. We're actually starting a brand new class starting in January, so we've got all of that. We've got so many resources here, so you've got all of that information to help with you. There are so many resources that you can get locally in your area, here online with us, and of course, there's so much out there to help you. So instead of thinking about there's no resources, there are. And some people, I've spoken to more than a few women who were in really, really abusive, physically abusive relationships and verbally abusive relationships, and they were really afraid to go into a domestic violence shelter, and I can understand that. That is for a short period of time. And if you are someone that does not have the means to get your education, you don't have the means to start making money for yourself, if you go to a shelter, they're going to give you some tools to help you with that. For me, I went and lived with a friend. I have no family that lives local. My closest family member lives 12 hours away. So I had to think quick of who can I reach out to. So people that I might have lost contact with, start reaching out to those people. Start telling people that you care about, that you're really wanting to end the relationship. Talk to people that you feel safe with and see if you can stay with any of them for just a period of time as you get back on your feet. There are other options. So, and again, you have the ability to live this beautiful life. And if we only live once, why not make it the best? So looking at all of the different reasons of why we are not living our best lives, and look at that list and then say to yourself, do I deserve more? And if the answer is no, why would I think that? Why would I think that I don't deserve more? If I deserve more, well then what am I going to do about it? Because whose responsibility is it for you to live a happy life? It's not anybody else's. It's yours. The power is in your hands. You are your own knight in shining armor. That doesn't mean you don't need a tribe of people. That doesn't mean you don't need the right support, but you need to have the right people with you, and you need to make the ultimate decision. Stop giving reasons why you are not leveling up, and start taking advantage of all of the things that are available here to you so that you can actually start